terms of a conspiracy. That just wasn't what they were about. And so I think ultimately that provided the jury a basis to say, hey, that wasn't what they were trying to do.
So would you say that the charge maybe was a little bit too ambitious by the federal government?
Well, I don't know. What are they going to do? Charge them with unlawful camping? I mean, I think this was a situation where the federal government didn't have the opportunity to vet the case. The case was what they got. And so that's that. And this was a situation where, again, these defendants had the strength of character to step up and say, prove it. Prove that we did it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you?
These wonderful people. We've been riding on the shoulders of a giant. All these wonderful people across this whole country have been our strength and our courage through this trial. And I'm really agog at how everything is happening.
I'm guessing.
We came to Oregon, to Harney County, seeking justice. And we found it today.
Portland.
We found it. We even found it in a federal court building. Through the looking glass. We even found it through the looking glass here in the federal court building. This is one of the extremely rare occurrences. I don't think people are aware of it. A rare occurrence for innocent verdicts to be rendered in a federal case, because most of the cases are rigged. So this is a stunning victory for rural America.
Right on the corner there.
What's next for you, Neil?
Extremely humiliating defeat for a corrupt and predatory federal agency.
That doesn't give you.
Thank you.
Neil, what's next for you?
Dinner.
Go home and walk my dog.
Neil, this is Hal Burton with the Seattle Times. Sorry, I came in just a little bit late. You said this is a big victory for rural America.
Very simple.
Sorry, we don't does it give you renewed faith in the process of law, of court?
It gives me a renewed faith in the American people, the good sense and decency of American people. Because I had that all along.
Thank you.
Neil, what are you going to do next?
Go and walk my dog.
So I can, oh my God. We have a birthday party. Today's my oldest daughter's birthday, and Saturday is my youngest and my grandson that lives with us, his birthday, and he'll be 7.
How, 7. And how old's your daughter turning?
She'll be, I'm not telling you, she'll kill me. She's 41.
When do you head to Nevada for the trial there?
The Nevada trial is actually in February.
And you aren't being held in custody?
No, I'm not charging.
You're not charging
Nevada, no.
All right, so you have no more legal battles, personally?
Personally, other than the one in Harney County.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.
They already have all together there, but it wasn't great either. There's most of those guys in there are okay, but there's a few of them that are just bad people. I don't really like this.
Okay, fair enough. So
Thank you.
what, if you can though, we may just talk about one other issue, which would be going forward. Like, what are you doing tonight? I mean, you're
I'm
free.
gonna go have a beer. That's what I'm gonna do right now.
Just in terms of how you feel about the victory, just your acquittal.
How do I feel about it? I love it. It's great. Yeah. Now I can get on with my life.
Thank you.
All right.
No.
Yeah, if I had a chance to talk to him, I would have said, listen, man, you're not going to fight this.
Don't worry, I'm not mad. I'm like, what am I forgetting? Decided they were going to take him in. She allowed that to happen now. That was not her place to do
It's a mess, right?
U.S. Marshals came in and said, and all the attorney was doing was trying to get paperwork because he still represents them. He said, bring me the paperwork that shows that you have authority to take him from here. And they didn't have any paperwork. They didn't bring it to him. And so now Mumford, and now his other attorney, Morgan Philpott, has gone to see what the paperwork is or whatever it is that they have that they might be able to hold him on. But for them to tackle him and tase him in the courtroom was unreal. It's like a mob.
How's the White House? How bothersome is it to have a victory and then to have that kind of assault?
We're so happy and we're in tears because we're thrilled because we know we're innocent. We didn't do anything. They drummed this whole thing up, and then all of a sudden they do something nasty like this again. It continually goes on. If America doesn't stand up, which is what we have going on in these federal courts, we have no separation of powers. Where's the separation of powers, people? Where's the separation of power? We have to have that. Because it's what our Constitution is about. That we don't have this kind of mob going on, and we've got it. We've got to restore our Constitution and bring us back to the 200 years of peace that we've had. We don't have it. We've allowed it to envelop us.
Does this verdict, you think, help in that fight and getting more people engaged?
I hope so. Yes, I believe this is a major breakthrough in America for the freedoms of the people. If they understood what we're standing for, is because people, you have rights. You have rights, and they didn't come from the government. They came from God. And we have God-given rights. And that's what we have to go back to. We have to go back to this.
How does this tie into Uranium
Wake up.
One?
It absolutely goes to Uranium One. What is Calico Resource? It's all by the criminals. It's by the criminal family, the crime family that has taken our resources. That's what keeps happening time and again. We got them from Nevada to the whole western United States. It's full of resources that would pay off our national debt. Our $20 trillion debt would be paid off with the resources that are under the grounds in these western United States. Why do you think they want them? Why do you think they're selling yellow cake and giving it to Russia and giving it to China, our enemies? Why are they doing that? We have to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant, people. Wake up, America, and help us restore that Constitution. Don't sleep with your head in the sand. Please stand up.
What's your path towards the next step, going to Nevada for the Bundys?
Nevada in the Bundy case doesn't actually start until February. We actually have a lawsuit going down in Harney County that will prove jurisdiction for the citizens in Harney County that we were trying to prove in the first place. That this has been usurped by federal people, and they don't have that right to take our land. And that's why we have Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution states that we have that. They have no right except for arsenals and dockyards and stockyards. Read it. Read the Constitution, people. Teach it to your children, because this is so important for America. We have to teach the Constitution, and they won't even let it in the courtroom. They won't let God be spoken of in the courtroom, and that's or the Constitution. Not even breathe a word. We couldn't even talk about laws. We couldn't talk about anything because it was so narrowed to the scope that they only wanted to prove that we had conspired to do something wrong, and there was nothing wrong. That's why we are acquitted, because God said we weren't guilty. We weren't guilty of anything. They just tried to make us guilty.
Shauna, could you please recap the altercation that happened in the courtroom?
Yes, I will. We were all thrilled because we were acquitted of all charges. And we have to say we are so grateful for the Patriots and for those jurors who spent their time and we know it's a great sacrifice, and we're so grateful, and we're in tears because we were so happy that they heard the truth, and they weren't intimidated enough that they didn't come back with the right judgment, and we thank God for that. But Mumford knew that Ammon and Ryan, because they were acquitted, had the right to walk out of that courtroom, and that judge would not stop those marshals. She allowed the marshals to take them and put them back in jail when they shouldn't have, and he was defending them. He's a hero. He's trying to stop them from abusing them more. They have been abused in this court, you people. In this jailhouse over here, they have been abused. They have been beaten. They have been starved. We've been shot. Let me tell you something. And it is from the federal government that's doing this. Stand up, please. Please stand up for the Constitution, because we know we're innocent. We know that God's here to protect this country. He loves us, and they tased him. They attacked him. 8 to 10 marshals attacked. This all comes back to Marcus Mumford, and fought him to the ground and twisted him up. I saw him, and they tased him because they wanted to have control so that they could take Ammon and Ryan, and they're still not released. It's unreal. All he wanted to do is he said, "Give me the paperwork. Show me the paperwork. You don't have authority. You don't have jurisdiction. You can't, and you better show us the paperwork." And they wouldn't even do that. It was just like a mob attacking when they tased him. Yes. How is that in a free America? Can that happen? I'm sorry. I'm so worked up because we're at a really high and then we're really low, and I'm full of anger. Yes, he was standing to protect. He was standing to protect Ammon and Ryan from being taken by the U.S. Marshals back into custody.
But about what kind of message this sends to people, like people who consider themselves patriots or willing to stand up to the federal government. And I want to write more about that from a legal perspective. If you think that this,
I hope the message that gets sent is, we hear you. We can imagine how maybe you have felt left behind over the last few decades, and maybe we should work harder to make you a part of the conversation about how resources are allocated, how federal or public lands are managed, how we can create opportunities not just for people who have been fortunate enough to land good jobs, but for everybody in those areas. I mean, that's the message that I hope is sent. That's certainly the message that I internalized when I was working on the case and meeting people from Harney County and getting to know my client and the other clients better. That's the message I hope is sent.
you hope that the government listens to.
I hope the government listens. I hope everyone listens. Yeah. Okay.
Was there any one thing that the case turned on, you think?
I don't know. I think it helped that there was a jury that took its oath seriously, that was willing to consider all of the evidence very carefully. I don't mean to give you sort of a vague and pat answer. I can't tell. You'd have to talk to me in 2 more days when I've had a better chance. Thank you, Tiffany.
Would you just say your name as well, please?
I'm Tiffany, Tiffany Harris. Sorry, Harris.
And who were you co-counsel?
I was standby counsel for Ms. Shauna Cox, a 60-year-old lady from Utah, a grandmother who went
And that was one thing he was discussing with the judge, and the marshals came in and took it.
And it was because he would say it's chaotic, or what would you describe?
Absolutely, it was chaotic on the marshals side.
And your name?
Wayne Schrock.
Spell your last name for me.
SCHROCK.
Thank you, sir.
Do you mind if I chat with you guys as well? My name's Samantha. I'm a reporter with the Oregonian.
Oregonian, huh?
Yeah.
You guys are a real liberal newspaper, you know that, don't you? They don't believe in your ideals and your philosophy.
I'm sorry. Would you like to talk anyway? I'd love to be able to hear
I don't want to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, though.
Various different federal agencies and their masters in Washington, D.C. Hopefully now we can go on from here being empowered and vindicated as peaceful activists.
Peaceful activists. Hang on 1 second. Hang right here, Neil. Lincoln, you have a question for us? Guilty of a criminal conspiracy. So the fact that you now have these U.S. Marshals surrounding his attorney for making an argument that is a very relevant argument to detention and transport to Nevada is symbolic of the entire misguided effort of a forceful federal government in the first place.
What do you have to say about the acquittals?
Very, very happy. I mean, I don't think we could be any more pleased as a legal team with the acquittals. It's what we'd hope for, that you can never quite believe may occur, and it did.
What are some of the changes you think we're going to see as a result of these acquittals? Like some of the things that people might be able to do, for example, that they weren't able to do in court?
I think it's a bigger message to the government. Stop treating good, patriotic citizens like terrorists. That's not appropriate. And this is not just a matter, unfortunately, from the very beginning, this case has been spun largely as a right-wing issue. It's not. This is an issue of a federal government that has become out of control and is starting to surveil its own citizens, treat its own citizens like terrorists. You look at all the information that was aggregated by the government relative to each of these people in the very beginning, which Per Olson adeptly challenged. So hopefully we'll see changes by the federal government in the way they treat their own citizens.
What happened in the courtroom at the end of it? I wasn't there. Can you explain to me what happened with Marcus Mumford?
Sure. Marcus was arguing a point, a very legitimate point about detention. And early on in this case, there was a hearing that we sought to consolidate detention, right? And the court here in this case said, we don't have the authority to do that. So it's ironic that now the court does say that they want to have their cake and eat it too and assert authority to hold after he's been found not guilty on all charges.
At what point did Marcus Mumford rush the... can you explain what happened in court when the security had to step in?
Sure, let's be very clear on this. Marcus Mumford spoke, and for speaking was assaulted by federal marshals. Okay? That's all he did. Everybody who stood there, it'll be on video, you will see that he did nothing but stand and attempted to speak to the judge. The judge, in fact, ordered the marshals to step back. They did not, and instead assaulted him.
Was he arrested?
I believe he was. It's my understanding from the U.S. Marshal's office that he was arrested.
Can I get you to repeat that in 1 second?
Yeah.
Can you do that again?
You bet. It's my understanding from the U.S. Marshal's office that he has been arrested.
What will you do about that?
Help him in any way I can. He was tased. Yes, he was. That did happen.
And what exactly prompted him being tased?
From my opinion, unlawful use of force by the federal government yet again. The man is an attorney who just got an acquittal for his client, is arguing that they don't have the right to detain him for Nevada based upon a previous ruling of the court. And for that, he was surrounded by U.S. Marshals. There was no statement. I'll let you. Yeah, you bet.
Go have a steak dinner because Matt Schindler told me I get 2 steaks, Matt!
Is that what you're going to do? Have a steak dinner? Where are you going to have a steak dinner?
I don't know.
What was your reaction when you heard the word not guilty?
I wept. I wept. Because they saw the truth. They heard it. They saw it. Because it's true. And they felt it in their hearts. And they didn't get it.
Feel like the government has finally heard you?
I don't know if the government heard us, but I know that the jurors knew it, and they felt it. That's why we were acquitted, because they knew it, and they didn't listen to the rules that said it can't go to their mindset. We couldn't even bring in the truth because we were so hampered by witnesses that couldn't testify. We had so many people that wanted to tell the truth, and they couldn't tell it, and they needed to tell because they wanted to come, and they knew that they felt that peace that was in there when we were together. They knew that was. They joined in our prayers. We knew. So we have to go together, and we have to stand up together, and we have to continue this, or we won't save the Constitution.
Release the Patriots! Release the Patriots! Aaron Bundy is not guilty! Ryan Bundy is not guilty! What about David Fry? Not guilty! Jeff Banta? Not guilty!
They should have never
Been $100 million wasted on this trial that could be used for these homeless people that are sleeping in the rain and sleeping in the gutters. I've been here for 4 weeks witnessing this. You know what $100 million could have done to help these people? And they're going to waste how much more? Take that money, help these people, these homeless people, these emotionally disturbed people, and use it for them. Come on, people, let's get our priorities correct. We need to get our priorities correct. There's people out here that need help. We wasted $100 million on this trial. Does that make sense? Let's do it, okay? For the people of Oregon, for the people of Portland.
Turn around and smile. Come here, Brian.
Great, thank you.
And you know that Shauna constitutes roughly 500.
What do you want to say to everyone who's been watching?
Patriots who feel like we want a message that
I think it's good for everybody's right to protest, you know, from hanging off a bridge to sitting in a tree to occupying, you know, a park in Portland to occupying a refuge. It is an affirmation of every citizen's right to use civil disobedience to make their voice heard when they feel like nothing else is working.
Have you talked to, I mean, what was Ryan's reaction? What did he say to you? If you can share it.
I think I said good job, and I think he said thanks. That was about it. Like, I think he was a little bit stunned, and it was a little bit overwhelmed by what was going on with Mr. Mumford. So,
do you think that this is something that will change the way the federal government does things? The response?
I think that they may learn from this that ignoring a protest movement isn't effective. Like just pretending, you know, attributing a lot of violence to them and dismissing them doesn't stop it and doesn't work. It isn't an effective strategy. And you know, that's kind of what they tried to do in Nevada, and that's certainly what they tried to do here. And maybe this is a lesson that that's not the way to engage with these people who want nothing more than just to be heard, just to have a forum to talk about the injustices like the case of the Hammonds and the treatment of ranchers.
So maybe listening, that might be what comes?
Well, I mean, being a good listener is maybe the best lesson of all.
Perfect. Lisa, always very articulate. Thank you.
Thank you.
She said Ammon and Ryan were acquitted of all charges for Oregon.
They said 12 of 13.
Yes, but they acquitted that charge.
They dropped that charge.
They dropped it.
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't on a federal facility feeding people and he wasn't carrying
I'm still
stealing cameras.
live. I'm sorry, I thought I hit finish, guys.
Let me.
Cameras and
Are any of who else going to be released
love you all.
immediately?
David Fry is the only one.
I'll leave it open for conversation.
Well, it's just David, Ammon, and Ryan are the only three incarcerated still.
Who is?
David, Ammon, and Ryan. So Ammon and Ryan, they're going to transfer now to Nevada.
And we're going to go down and we're going to crack that nut. We're going to win there too.
I think that roller coaster is a good way to capture it. I do think that, you know, one thing that made this case unique is that really this was a case about people's political, moral convictions. And so there was a real sense of unity among all of the people who were charged in the case. They would not have tolerated any sort of dissension or finger pointing, and I think that made us strong as a unified team. I think it made us more formidable as trial advocates because we had the full support of one another, we could pull resources, ideas, and draw a lot of inspiration from our clients and from one another. That was special. I'm not sure, and I also, my view was a little bit obscured. I mean, I hope he's okay. I think he's an incredibly passionate and ardent lawyer, so I'm assuming that he's okay. That is my hope. But as to the details, you know, I was sort of reeling from the good result. Yeah. It's pretty incredible that they all were found not guilty. As a lawyer, you really have to kind of prepare yourself for every sort of result. It's a very strange kind of mental trip you have to go on. So, of course, I was surprised, but mostly I was just thrilled and elated for my client. You know, she's a grandmother, she's a mom, she's a hugely important member of her family and community, and, you know, that's the thing that makes me happiest today. Tiffany, Tiffany Harris.
Whatever they would think.
P-O-T. One T.
And you were, how far from him were you?
Oh, 5 feet. 4 to 5 feet.
You represent Anna.
Can you describe, I got here a moment ago, can you describe what happened from your vantage point?
Well, first of all, Ammon Bundy is not guilty on all charges.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. Second, Ammon Bundy, having been found a free man, was then ordered detained by the U.S. Marshals. We had argued that that is inappropriate, and Marcus Mumford, my co-counsel, sought to argue that he should not be detained based upon a previous ruling by this judge. As they were discussing that matter, the U.S. Marshals, for some unknown reason, without any sort of aggression on Marcus Mumford's part, surrounded him and attempted to restrain him after they were told by the judge to step back. They did not do so, and instead they assaulted Mr. Mumford, tackled him to the floor, and tased him for making a legal argument.
Is he okay?
Well,
Physically?
of course he's not okay, right? I mean, his liberty was just assaulted by the very government that is supposed to protect it, by the very government that just prosecuted his client unjustly, as the jury just found.
Physically speaking, does he have injuries that are going to require medical treatment at a hospital?
We do not know.
Have you spoken with him since the incident?
I have not. I've not been allowed in the back. I tried immediately after this to get in to see both my client and Mr. Mumford, and also to see the detention order that the marshals claim that they have, which they have yet to produce. And I was not allowed to see him to that point in time. That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Yeah, Morgan Philpott, M-O-R-G-A-N-P, as in Paul, H-I-L-P as in Paul, O-T as in Tom.
I hear you say you're Marcus Mumford's co-counsel, is that correct?
And what went through your mind when you saw this all go down?
That the federal marshals ought to step back and let the attorney and the judge.
Indication. Ken said. That's what Ken said. Yeah, he said, now I don't get to try and get Marbury versus Madison overturned.
Did you call him? Did you call him?
I did. I called Ken, and he was a gracious winner, as he has been a gracious loser in the past. And well, I think Ken is deeply religious, and so I think that for him, this is a lot of a spiritual kind of thing, and so I think that it's a very powerful day for him. He's been fighting these issues and losing over and over and over again for 20 years, and so to be in a situation where a jury of his peers acquitted him is a moment I'm sure that he will carry forward with him forever. And if you'd like to see what he's up to now, go check out his place down in La Pine. Well, he's in Bend right now. Oh, he's got the anti-BLM signs. He's got a bear that's holding a big anti-Forest Service sign, you know.
So what do you think led to this full acquittal of the defendants here? I mean, this is pretty stunning blow to the government.
Extraordinary. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. One is that I felt that, at least as to some of the defendants, the issue of the object of the conspiracy was problematic for the government. So the government, you know, had to prove that somebody threatened or was intending to threaten employees of the government. And the judge, I thought, gave us an extraordinarily broad ability to bring in state of mind evidence. So, for example, with Mr. Medenbach, I was able to take him through an extensive history of protest and these kinds of things in order to show that that's what his intent was. And so I think that what you saw was a number of defendants who each had their own viewpoints, were each there for their own reasons, and as a result, it was difficult to prove a conspiracy. You know, when a bunch of people are trafficking in drugs, it's easy to say they all have the same objective. But in a case like this, where there isn't that underlying obvious self-interest that informs the conspiracy, you've got to ask yourself, well, is it then really a conspiracy? And I think that's probably where the government fell short. And I think we were also fortunate because we had jurors from outside of the Portland area and people who could understand that the presence of firearms at the refuge was not necessarily a threat. People that could understand that in Harney County, when you leave your house, you leave with your guns. And so those guns were part of an expression of their lawful intent. And so I think that's really what it came down to. But beyond that, I'm guessing. I'm just extraordinarily pleased to have been able to participate in this. It's an amazing case.
And then the theft of the government truck. What do you think played a part there? That he was gonna...
Listen, I mean, if I wanted to say to you that I defended the case with some magnificent oratory, I'd say I fell short. I think that what it came down to is that the federal theft statute has this interesting intent requirement. And it's not simply sufficient that you take something that doesn't belong to you. It requires you to take something with the intent to deprive somebody else of using it. And so I think the jury forgave him that borrowing based on the fact that the refuge was closed. There was no evidence anyone else was using it. He did no damage to it. And so, but again, I don't. For all I know, they just didn't like the government.
And what do you think about the ending with Marcus, you know, arguing for Ammon to be released and be able to walk out of court?
Well, I think that first of all, Marcus Mumford is an extraordinary advocate and a remarkable lawyer, and the level of energy that he has put out over the course of this 6 weeks, I think, has just left him empty. And so I think today was one of those days where, unfortunately, he let his passion and desire and belief in his client overcome his better judgment. Because there's nothing Anna Brown can do about a detainer from Nevada. Nothing. And he has no right to have that issue litigated here. All that can happen is for Ammon Bundy to be transported in the normal course down in Nevada, where a release hearing could be held. But yeah, it can't be done here. And so I'm disappointed that Marcus isn't celebrating with the rest of us, because he is a really remarkable lawyer and person.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Tweet. What'd you know? Send it out, huh?
Hi, thank you.
So I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to get your reaction to the not just your client, but the acquittal, basically, of all the defendants.
It's fantastic. It was the right result.
So what do you think led to it? I mean, what do you think that was?
I think the jury just saw through this, and they saw that these were all well-meaning, well-intentioned individuals, and couldn't see themselves convicting these guys. I mean, they all came out here for a good purpose, because they care. You know, they care about their communities, they care about their families, and they don't like what's going on, you know, with policy decisions made by folks a long ways away. And so I think the jury saw that, and they just reached the right decision for all of them.
And how did Fry, his reaction? Was he going home?
Yeah,
today?
they just have. Well, he'll be released. They have to process him out next door, but I don't know. No, but we'll make sure he has a safe place to stay tonight.
And how did he say anything to you? Or?
To tell you the truth, we kind of were expecting that he would be found not guilty, and so it wasn't a shock. It's always nice to hear it.
And just how the whole the jury, one juror being dismissed, and just returning a verdict after some 5
Matt
hours.
wasn't sure if he got tased or not. I told him a little tase here or there.
I thought there was a good chance they tried to reach a verdict today, rather than have to come back next week.
Oh, I hope so. What a way to celebrate the day.
That will help me understand.
What's this happening?
Have a blessed time.
This is a pretty significant blow, I think, to the prosecutors.
Next, have to throw BLM out of the country. We'll maybe throw Monsanto out too.
All right.
Oh, Wampler. Here's Wampler.
I got more in my back pocket. I've got plenty of Constitution.
Get that one out of there. I don't know.
Call her back. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to call and let you guys know.
That means they will have to stop
By the shooting. No telling what could happen. However, it was irrevocable that we had to do what we were doing.
Many people were concerned this is not going to be a peaceful protest. It was going to turn violent because of all the armed
You see
men
that,
at the refuge.
Well, let me tell you, that is, unfortunately, for many people that equate firearms with violence, it depends whose hands they are in. Just like any other possible weapon.
For example, Bunkerville.
And there's a perfect example of a bunch of armed citizenry who had restraint under the most extreme set of circumstances. I will point out that not one single gunshot was fired at Bundy Ranch. Not even an accidental discharge. What can you say about that?
You still were armed. And
This
with
is
ammo. Lots of ammo.
This is the American way, ladies and gentlemen. It has always been this way, and it will continue this way.
What message do you think today's verdict will have?
Well,
Larger
tremendous.
message.
Obviously, a tremendous victory, as I said, for rural America, and it is a disastrous, humiliating defeat for corrupt and predatory federal agencies. That, in a nutshell, is summing up what it comes up to.
Do you think there'll be more protests along the line of the refuge takeover? as a
I would
result?
say this. That depends on the federal government. It depends on what the federal government does. If they begin a retraction of their illegal powers and begin behaving in a lawful manner, these kind of things probably won't happen again. If they continue to base their actions on fraud, misconstruction, and abuse, then I can't rule out the possibility of a number of Americans standing up against them again.
Thank you.
All right, Neil, any final words?
Oh gosh.
You
It
want
is,
to say? Just get it off your chest.
I don't have anything much on my chest. I would say that for those of us those people out there in this country who have been on the fence wondering whether or not to get involved in these kind of things, I will say that this experience has enriched my life beyond measure.
This experience has enriched your life?
Yes, enriched my life beyond measure. And I feel a satisfaction in my heart and in my soul.
You're working, I get it.
About, what I personally have done in this time. I will point out again that it would be completely different if someone was hurt. It would be completely different if someone was injured or if someone was attacked.
Well,
but as we have seen, I'm coming to that, the only casualty and only death we have had since Bundy Ranch in April of 2014 has been at the hands of the police. The police killed the boy, not us. We never shot anyone.
What will you be doing tonight, sir? I mean, you're out.
Well, since I don't drink anymore, I'm really in a quandary. I'm out anyway.
Was that not drinking before being in jail?
Maureen Valdez. MAUREENVALDEZ.
And you're from Beaverton, right?
I'm from Beaverton, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know, I don't want to be in any of these stupid things. Man, oh man. Some things are worth going to jail for.
They are.
I love you too. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hallelujah. Oh, praise God. I'm not a very religious fellow, and I say praise God.
It's time to get that way.
Well, when I say very, I mean compared to you.
Okay. You're okay then.
What are you going to do now?
Keep fighting.
Go to Disneyland.
We got to go to Nevada. They're going to win in Nevada too. You know, the principle of the thing here is this is the United States of America, and telling the federal government no is not illegal. And if it is, it shouldn't be. And we're going to go fight that fight.
Does this give you faith in the American people or the court system?
You know, it gives me faith that if you fight like hell, there's still a way to find justice. And we shouldn't have to fight that hard. Thank God for a jury. Thank God for a trial. You know, I have to say, yeah, it does increase my faith. Yeah.
What happened to Marcus Mumford? What's his status?
Well, besides the marshals throwing him down to the ground, tasing him multiple times, and arresting him because he wouldn't stop arguing. I mean, that's crazy. An attorney in a United States court is arguing in front of a judge, in front of the United States attorney, doesn't assault anybody, doesn't touch anybody, doesn't throw a piece of paper on the ground. And when he gets surrounded by at least a dozen federal agents, he puts his arms up in the air and says, "What are you doing?" And they throw him to the ground. That's what this case is about. It's okay to say no to the federal government sometimes. That doesn't make you a criminal. It doesn't mean you don't love or respect this country. It means there are principles we're standing for. They wouldn't let him stand. They threw him to the ground.
Did you say he was tased?
I think he was tased multiple times.
Did you see the taser?
I heard him saying, "You're tasing me, ow, ow, this is hurting." But we were getting rushed out of the courtroom.
Is he in jail now? Where is
He was
now?
arrested. He was arrested. We hope he'll be released today. So,
Have you talked to Ammon Bundy, and what did he say about it?
I didn't get a chance to talk to him. He saw the whole thing, but I'll tell you what he'd say about it. He'd say some things are worth fighting for. This isn't just about Marcus Mumford. This isn't just about Ammon Bundy. This is about living in a day when, of all the struggles and trials we have as Americans, it's still got to be okay to say no to the federal government. It's not disloyal or criminal to resist. That's what it's about. And if Marcus Mumford goes to jail, it's because Marcus Mumford believes in what he's doing. Thank God for people like Marcus Mumford.
What does it say about the memory of LaVoy?
Well, LaVoy knew this. LaVoy knew that sometimes you stand up and there's a price to pay. And let's hope you don't have to pay that price. You shouldn't have to pay the price Marcus Mumford just paid. You shouldn't have to pay the price Ammon Bundy just paid. But if you have to pay a price, I think Americans all know that Americans have historically stood up to pay the price. That's what makes us different. You know, I'll tell you, there are good federal marshals, there are good U.S. judges, there are good people all around this. Good people make bad choices, and we've got a system to work that out. And if you fight like hell, it still works.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
We stood for the Constitution and we won, brother.
Yes, it is. We did.
We can all sleep with that.
I don't know, though. I'm pretty excited.
Are you guys right?
Now, Ms. Cox, tell me, when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
That means God's listening to us and we have freedom.
What are you doing tonight? I'm curious after something like this.
The people.
You're fighting for freedom today. You actually literally have it in terms of what you had 24 hours ago. What are you going to be doing?
Well, right now, soon, Matt Schindler, one of the attorneys, promised me 2 steaks. I'm going to go eat them.
Both. How big a steak?
I don't know.
When was the last time you had steak?
I got 2 steaks. A while.
Yeah. Well,
They all won. Not guilty. The Bundys won. Not guilty. The Bundys won. Yeah, the Bundys won. We won. Not guilty.
Hey, Schindler! I'm hungry! What's it feel like to have this verdict and to be able to turn that flag around?
Help you fish?
Hey, fuck Donald Trump. Hey, fuck
I got enough.
Our soldiers as much anymore.
I got enough under there, fish.
I got you.
What's it been like for you to come out
I
here
got enough under it.
day after day showing your support?
I don't know. I always support my brothers.
Your name?
My name's Nick Fisher. Nick Fisher.
What are you going to do next?
Whatever comes up next. I'm going to be here for February. There's still going to be a
We're
trial.
back down to Harney
There's
County.
a trial in Nevada. There's a pipeline in North Dakota.
Another jury comes
or
through.
whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot of places to go if you want to stand up for your rights.
How important is it
Usually.
to do that?
It's,
now.
It's everything.
Like
You
we
either
just
stand up
restored
now
the water,
or we
the
all
land.
fall
She said
separate.
there was no
We got to be
Constitution.
united together.
She said there was no
And
First
we gotta
Amendment. She
put
said
each
the
other
Bible
down.
was not fact, was not true.
Everyone thought we were terrorists and we were all these bad people. And the 12 jurors just told you that we were good people. And we are not terrorists. And we've been vindicated, and now I feel great. I was an outcast in my family, and maybe I won't be no more.
Thank you.
Intimidation, fear, and threat of force. And
And real quick before you let you go.
that maroon and black was the colors of the priesthood of Aaron.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're not from the same sort of background as a lot of the other people in this
I am the oddball out, really, compared to everybody else. I'm very much different.
Yeah. You said Las Vegas? Or
Las Vegas.
Okay.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm sorry. My friend actually cleaned up the stuff that I just broke past. So hopefully it won't happen anymore.
Hey, we won! The Bundys won! We won!
I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Fish!
And I don't want to come across as
Fish!
aggressive at all. No.
You ready? Thanks.
We're ready.
That's fish.
Jen, Robert, I'm going to follow directly behind you. I'm going to follow Jen. I'm going to follow Jen. Go, Batman! Not guilty! Not guilty! Emma Bundy! Not guilty! Johnny Bundy! Not guilty! Johnny Clark! Not guilty! Jeff Santa! Not guilty!
You said that we had no time. It actually has a promise that comes along with it. It's in numbers.
Do we need to follow them? Boom. Hey, just he wants to use Donna. Hold on a second. They're rolling now.
So you guys stick around for a bit? Will you be able to collect on my... I mean, I owe you dinner. We'll go tomorrow night if you want.
Let's get Mumford out of jail.
Let's get Mumford out of jail.
I'm sure he's going to have an appetite.
You know,
fucking
take him to trial,
just
beat
like
him
the
down,
moment.
and then arrest their attorney at the end after they're found innocent. On what charge?
That's all right.
Based on an order that nobody can produce.
That's not all bad. Is a new benchmark for his extravagance. It's one thing to go bananas over the bench when you just it's another thing to go bananas when you got acquitted.
That's clearly contempt of court.
So do you just want me to do... Yeah, please.
Yeah.
He's going wild. Whatever it takes. I will go in and talk to the Sheriff Lombardo there. I find out going in and talking to him and seeing him. And telling him that he is a constitutional sheriff. And telling him that he's got to put an end to it. It's got to be an open trial.
But I might come back and meeting you.
I'll be here.
Okay, thanks for talking to me.
Well, you bet. Thank you. Yeah, you want Ken will love his shirt because it's so much publicity. Since you're going to be here, we have 3 secular branches of government, and we have a 4th that's called the jury. And whenever the first 3 forget what our moral standards and our principles are, we got the 4th to step up and tell them and remind them what's what. Dave Frank? Tonight.
What's your reaction, please? It is amazing.
All these Homeland Security trucks out here.
We're not beyond a reasonable doubt. We just needed a jury who wasn't going to get swayed by the narrative, by the story. Because the story that has been told about what happened isn't the perspective of Ammon Bundy and the people who supported him. That story hasn't been often told. And so the awesome thing, you always hear people say, well, I want my day in court. Well, they got their day in court. And when the jury of their peers heard their story, they came to a different conclusion.
How's this going to change things?
Well, I hope it gives people increased faith in the court system. I hope it shows other people that it's worth fighting, that some things are worth fighting for.
It's her.
And so I hope it strengthens people who want to do hard things. Excuse me? Matthew Schindler is just a colleague. Yeah, I work with Morgan Philpott and Marcus Mumford. Yeah.
So as far as his arrested?
Marcus was arrested.
What's his current situation?
He's going to be charged with something and then released.
And do you represent him? How does that work?
We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
What's your full name?
Rick Kerber.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It was very cute. Okay. I gotta call Gavin back.
Or let me take that back. How do you feel?
I would have been surprised yesterday, but based upon what happened with the juror yesterday, I think we suspected a not guilty verdict might be coming. We were hopeful. It's overwhelming.
Okay.
Have you had any communication with Ammon Bundy since the verdict?
No, they wouldn't let me. Nothing.
I know he's not your client, but another element of this, you had a lot of people representing themselves in court, which many people say is a very risky strategy, and those people also prevailed, being acquitted.
I don't know that if I can explain why. I don't know why the jury did what they did yet, except I think that they saw that our clients were good people. I think they saw that their intention was not what the government said it was. And I think they saw that the government acted inappropriately.
So that conspiracy charge is about intent. That's a big part of how it works.
Absolutely.
And so you think that the jurors, you think that was likely the piece that the jurors just did not see there.
No, here's the irony. The intent alleged by the government was that they intended to prevent or impede the employees of the BLM or the Fish and Wildlife Service. And ironically, what we believe was happening was an adverse possession claim and protest against a tyrannical federal government, which manifested itself in the courtroom today. Right? The irony of that situation is the symptoms of a federal government that is out of control are manifesting themselves across America.
What does this mean for you?
No, I'm not surprised at all. And this is,
It means now we go and fight in Bunkerville, in Nevada, and hopefully the jurors there will see what the jurors here saw and send another message to a federal government that has been behaving badly.
Is there anything that you would like to add on the message?
State land ownership, and that's what this came down to. And also, we're going to walk around here. There's still tons of.
No, it's just been a privilege to be a part of this case and to represent a person like Ammon Bundy and to take one step in sending a good man back to a great family.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks.
There you go. You're gonna get them before Monsanto.
I gotta run.
All right. Yep.
Free the Hammonds!
That's right, free the Hammonds.
Free the Hammonds! the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds now! To keep them in there when they're not guilty. Need to free the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds!
Free the Hammonds now!
Free the
You have no
Hammonds!
right to
Free
let
the
them
Hammonds!
out. 10 months. You let them out of there now. You got no right to keep them in jail. They're free. They're not guilty. Let them out now.
Absolutely.
Right now. Let them out.
Absolutely.
You work for us. We don't work for you.
The conspiracy was to free the
Hammonds. How many more lawyers you gotta fucking take? It's we the people, not we the government. We don't work for you. You work for us.
Oh, they're gonna lock us out now!
Alright, what's that, guys?
Okay. How about we get a response?
We are the law of the land! You give your own pass!
I bet you those U.S. Marshals feel sweet having paid the defense attorney that got not guilty verdict. If that isn't revenge, I don't know what is. It's retaliation, I'm sorry.
This is the rule of law, son. This is the rule
It's the Constitution, not an administrative rule written by these guys up in here.
I shouldn't have a phone.
The rule of law has just been reestablished.
Mine's in my backpack, so.
The rule of law has just been reestablished. The Constitution of the United States, the Enclave Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. It has just been reestablished.
And there wasn't any way they could do that without initiating an armed standoff?
You know what? Look at all the occupation that's gone across this country in the last few years. What became of it? Nothing. And it wasn't an armed occupation, believe me. People were exercising their First Amendment rights and their Second Amendment rights. That's all. That's it. It was a peaceful assembly.
And the employees of the
I personally invited them to come down and go back to work. 2 journalists. I was interviewed. I said, come on, come back to work. I said, we will get out of your way. I was there for a month. I said, we'll make room. We'll get out of your way. Come back to work.
So you think this is the last of this kind of thing, or the beginning of it?
I think it's the beginning. I really do.
Well, that's something that I can both agree on.
Okay, thank you.
Such an interesting contrast, right? Here's how I see it. We got cowboys and Indians. Right. Cowboys fighting for land.
We got God on our side.
And we got Indians fighting for water.
Right.
If you've got cowboys and Indians both fighting for something, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And they're fighting against the corruption. They're not fighting against good government and good management. They're fighting against the corruption. There's a huge difference. So I applaud everyone is standing wrong. Everyone who was from our opposition that's standing there, all the patriots that are standing there, all the Indians, just all the Americans need to stand up.
They have suppliers. And are you going to stick around until they're releasing you from jail, or most likely? You don't know what it is. Were you in the courtroom when you tried it all? What did you think about it?
They tried to redress these guys. They tried everything. Right? You know what they did? We had them sit in and say,
strong arm.
what they do, they had
Government strong arm. Judge Brown's voice was very, very shaky. You could tell she was very nervous when she was reading the verdict.
I go back after my father had died.
So what do you think's next with all this? What do you see like as the future of America after this review?
You know what? That would be like me trying to tell you what's going to rain on the
Right, but I mean, could you see a difference in the future? Like, what kind of difference do you think this will make?
Well, let's hope it makes a difference.
This has been going on for well over 30 years. So one case at a time it's going to help. I mean, we still have a lot of people. Joe Robertson's in prison still for building stock ponds. Tyler Truitt in Huntsville, Alabama, he's still having a lot of issues with the government. And
pulling post this morning. got dope there, huh?
Yeah, same type of thing.
You just got
You don't need everybody, but you need a relentless, persevering people to move the mountains. And I think they're going to be victorious there too. And I'm on their side, by the way, too.
We're praying for them.
Yes, absolutely.
We are praying for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to get these big corporations that are stealing the people's land. We got to get them out of here. They're destroying everything. I mean, what good is wealth if you don't even have water and clean air? You know, it means nothing.
It's interesting that really pitted this as a story about people versus the environment, like environmentalists versus the occupation. It doesn't.
It's convoluted, it really is. But when you get down to the nitty gritty and you see who the real culprits are, and there are these major and many of them foreign corporations that they have bought this land through corrupt officials, and they are just destroying it all across this nation. And we just got to do something. We're not going to leave anything for our children and our grandchildren. Yeah. Thank you.
I know y'all are very happy.
Oh, Miss Daddy. Yeah.
People are really surprised, I think, and I can understand.
You know, I'm not surprised.
Needed a new attorney early on in the case. I reached out to yeah, I did not do
But she would have thought, no, she was just.
That's a lot of the. I think it was like a.
But some of them did, like the Oregonian, and they did not report it the way it was going. Oh, they really blew it on that one. And my feelings were, you know what? Just get before the jury, and they will see the sincerity, you know, because we did it for the right reason. You know, we didn't want any. I mean, most of us lost everything, okay, and we just wanted it for right. Stephen Hammond, get them out of prison, and for the people of Harney County, especially the ranchers. That's what we wanted.
The terrorist enhancement sentence that Hammond was interesting. I thought because it's a terrorist enhancement sentence specifically targeted towards terrorists, and then it was.
I know, right? Yes. To God be the glory. Yes. So Sunday I'm going to church. Allah! It's about time. With you guys. Oh my God. Are you excited? Yes, Standing Rock. I will like go out to Standing Rock. Yes. Because it's only 20. What? God is good.
It's 24. I've driven by the port several times now.
So you take me. I should just stay overnight somewhere and then.
And I regret that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Glad that everyone who's in jail gets that.
I don't know. And this is just one thing. John is down all the time. Not just our people. Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah. We never fought.
I met you. I was actually just walking down the street.
And if I didn't have to go to Nevada, I wouldn't have gone there. But I got to get priorities, so I got to get mine. Plus, that's where I live. I'm right there. I can really find a good spot.
And of course, I'm parking.
Out with finest.
You want to make
So now I guess we can flip the flag on
the process of redress and grievances is all that.
Just keep holding on to it upside down.
And effective, etc.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to.
I can't believe that they had
I know, I'm so excited. I am. I'm going to
However, that being said,
I'm going to come up and go dinner.
I won't be able to. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go.
Are we going to on Sunday? I know. Which one? You guys want to come to White Ward? To God be the glory?
To God be the glory.
This is
so awesome.
I know. So I mean, you can lie. The feds lied. They murdered. They have informants.
Yes.
And they planted stuff.
Yes.
All of it, and it's documented.
Yes.
And we kicked their.
And we still won.
I'm telling you, I'm so excited. I can't. I don't even. I was in Yeah. God is good. God is good. Where's my sister? She wasn't over there. She's the one that's made her way to the courtroom.
You can see it. She's wanted to restrict you. So you can see it within the prosecution. She was shaking. Her voice was shaking. Really?
See if I actually get home. I mean, I don't want to be like, but there's a lot of us here at this point, and the initial thing is
So my way of thinking is get rid of him and it's over with. But I didn't know.
I've been wanting to, but everybody's been talking.
Why can't we get them together now?
Well, do you want me just to sit down and we start doing it now?
Hey, Patriot! Prayer time!
Yeah, good idea.
Prayer time!
Prayer time!
Hey, Patriots! Prayer time!
Over here.
Yes. No, well, not it's not. It's not.
Birthdays aren't that important.
Hey there, folks. Jim Ryan, reporter for The Oregonian and Oregon Live. As you well know, folks, today, I'll step out of the camera here so you can see what's going on behind me. But the defendants in the Oregon standoff trial were... We good? We're good. All right.
And God, we trusted you, and so we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our heart. And Satan, we just want to laugh in your face and tell you you were defeated once, and you were defeated again. So we continue to bind you up in the pits of hell and tell you to stay where you belong. God, we thank you for LaVoy's life. Lord, we lift up his family right now to you in the mighty name of Jesus, and to each one of us that man touched. We ask that you would just continue to move in a mighty way, that he would live through all of us, and that we would just bring glory to you in the name of Jesus.
They tried to kill him, but they only made him stronger. We are LaVoy.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee to give great thanks unto thee for bringing for prevailing unto the world. It was your will. Thank you, Lord. We are so grateful for the sacrifices of all these political prisoners and their families, and to each of us who've been out here taking a huge stand. We are so grateful to thee. We are grateful for our testimonies of thee. We are so grateful for the gospel, and we are so grateful for our knowledge. And we are so grateful that the Constitution is upheld. We know this is a chosen land, and we can never thank the boy enough for his great sacrifice in the name of liberty. And we ask that judgment will be served for his murder. We say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Not guilty.
Lord, we know that Constitution wasn't even allowed in the courtroom. We know that your law was written on the hearts of those jurors. We know that you had their conscience rise up in them, and tell them that these men are good men, and that that woman up on the bench, she didn't have a right heart in her. She didn't have a right mind in her. She didn't have good intentions. She had nothing but hate and contempt for our people and our land. And you brought forth what we needed, jurors with a true heart and knowing what they had to do for those neighbors and friends around them, the good people, their families, their neighbors, their people. And we thank you in your Son's holy name of Jesus Christ, because we're going to need you some more. It's snowballing now. It was snowballing no matter what the verdict was, but now we're rolling fast and furious. Let's clean up this land. God bless.
God bless.
Praise the Lord. I love you guys. Hannah's in the car. Okay.
All right, so back with you here. Jim with the Oregonian, wrapping up kind of what happened today inside and outside the courthouse. Folks out here have been largely in support of the verdict, finding the defendants not guilty of all of the charges against them. It's been pretty an elated scene, if you will. Folks have been just completed a prayer circle. Folks have been walking and chanting around the courthouse in support of the Bundys and the other defendants, the occupiers. All in all, it has been a day that they won't forget anytime soon. That said, we are running low on battery. We are going to close down shop on Facebook Live. Check the Oregonian and Oregon Live's Twitter and Facebook accounts for more information throughout the evening. Maxine Bernstein, our lead reporter on this, is back writing through some of the information at the moment. We will join her in the newsroom to get you folks more info about what happened today and what this means. That said, Jim Ryan for the Oregonian Oregon Live. Thanks so much for watching.
I can't. I
Oh, don't even stop her! Let her go! Oh, please! Let her go!
okay?
Would you like a constitution today, sir?
Thank you for your service, sir.
Would you like a constitution today?
Our country, out. Work for us. Love the shirt.
Actually, I do love it. I think you look awesome. And thank you for your service, sir.
I'm a civil rights investigator. I might need it up here.
For honky.
Come on, honking going on over there. You have a busy night, bud. Notice to arresting officer.
Ma'am with the immigrant.
David Fry!
Yeah, we want to release our people. We want Ammon and Ryan now. My phone's dead.
I got enough to do that. I got 7
Hey, David. I think they're going down there. Oh my gosh. Did you tell her that guy you are?
Yeah.
What happened? Did he get
He informed her that it was illegal to be honking.
It's on Valdez's live feed. I live fed it. I ran and caught up and I was pushing live.
All this time and they're now going to complain. I mean, we've all been doing it.
You know what?
He was wearing a pink shirt.
No teasing. It's not.
I can't help it. He was. He was wearing a pink
If he was
shirt.
a jerk, then.
Well, we can't
I don't
help
care
it.
what they do, but when they put stuff up,
Whatever.
it's when they say put stuff up about the boy. I got a problem. Anything else they say?
The boy can take it.
And I've only had a dozen death threats. Let's see. The other night, that guy said he was going to kill me. Dawn came to my rescue. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Easy does it.
Exactly. I tell you.